All right. Well, good evening. Tonight isn't about perfection. It's about finally taking that first step. And that is exactly what this is for me. This is a first step for me. This is my first stream ever. And I'm nervous as all. I'm nervous as and crazy right now. But I'm really happy to be here. And I'm really happy to actually start this journey. And I'm happy that hopefully I don't get in an accident right off the bat. But the biggest thing I can say is, if you've been stuck trying to achieve a goal, you're not alone. I mean, I've been there, and this has been over a year in the making, I'll be honest with you. Um, the time and energy that I've put into a variety of projects. I first had an idea, a thought about streaming in some sort of capacity, and here I am. So just relax, no pressure, just a conversation, just hanging out. But getting started is hard. It's not easy to do something that you're not used to, that you've never done before, that you see others doing it, and you want to be able to partake, or you want to be able to imitate. You want to be able to have the successes that you see others have, and so you set these goals for yourself. Some of them may be lofty and maybe not necessarily achievable, but they may not be realistic when you set the mountain so high for yourself that it's almost unachievable. And so a lot of times we wait for the perfect moment. We wait for that perfect moment to come, but the perfect moment never comes because maybe you're in college and you got papers, you got class, you got projects, you got sports, you got everything going on. Maybe you're a new married couple and you got all kinds of stuff going on with your career starting out. Maybe you just had a child and you're taking care of your children and wanting to spend time with them. And so finding the time to set out and achieve something that you want to work on, a lot of things can get in the way of that, and they don't have to. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. A lot of people think procrastination is about laziness, but it's not. It can be a variety of things, such as, fear of failure, fear of success, fear of just responsibility. And when we talk about fear of failure, is, well, obviously, you set out to do something. Maybe you tell people, maybe you don't. And you don't want to. You have that fear of failure because you don't want to fail, and then have people mock or ridicule you. It messes with your emotions. It messes with your psyche. And the last thing that you want to do is go try again when you fail and people are sitting there talking trash to you. Fear of success. A lot of people really get hung up on the fact of, oh, well, what if I succeed and it gets to be, unmanageable, meaning they can't handle the fruits of their labor. It becomes too big or too challenging or too much responsibility. A lot of people have the fear of responsibility because it's, okay, I've done this, I've achieved this, and now I have to take care of more things. I have more responsibilities than I had previously. So in many instances, we wait for that perfect moment, the perfect mood, or in my case, the perfect plan. A lot of times we get into overthinking, and overthinking, just to continuously think and overthink and try to get every detail just to the point that we want it. And so overthinking can be really sneaky in, when you're trying to be productive. It overthinking, it feels productive, but it isn't. You tell yourself, you're planning, you're researching, you're getting ready, you're educating yourself for whatever it is. Maybe, if you're saying that you want to work out, you're coming up with workout plans and you're downloading videos. Maybe you're checking videos, watching them to see what the exercises are, but you're not actually working out. You're not actually participating in the exercise. Researching. It's part of my problem is that, was part of my problem, is that I spent a lot of time researching every little aspect in order to be knowledgeable in the craft or the trade that I was getting myself into. But through that procrastination, you find yourself, you're just kind of delaying the moment that you actually have to get dirty and face the work. And I think that's the difficulty that a lot of people have, is that it's difficult to roll up the sleeves and actually get your hands dirty and get to work. I mean, I've convinced myself that I needed, one more thing, one more idea, do more research, educate myself. And the challenge is that what you already have the goal, you have the dream, and you know what you want. And I think that's the biggest thing that you can have, and the advantage that you have for yourself is that you know what you want. You have a dream for, whatever it is you're working on, whether it's fitness, whether it's financial, whether it's parenting, whether it's school, whether it's something at work, at your job, your career, entrepreneurship. You know what you want. You know where you want to be, or you're working on trying to figure that out. But the bottom line is that you have a goal, and you don't need more information. What you really need is movement. Procrastination, it's not laziness. It can be classified as like emotional avoidance. Meaning you avoid it and it comes through as procrastination, you avoid it and you think you're kind of just putting it off so you can better prepare yourself. But what it really comes down to is it's procrastination. And not everybody likes to admit, oh, I procrastinate, I wait until the last minute. Some people do. And that might work for them for, preparing for a test or something. But a lot of times, the advantage that we tell ourselves or that we lie to ourselves about is that we gain comfort now in not doing what we said we were going to do. And then, of course, what happens is we regret it later. And it's a trade-off. We, say, oh, I'm just going to relax tonight, or I'm just going to, chill today. I'll do it tomorrow, or I'll put that off till next week, so on and so forth. And then next week comes around and maybe it doesn't happen. So then we feel bad. Like, oh, I said I was going to do this and I didn't. And the regret sets in and that guilt cycle starts in. You delay, you feel bad. I just got in an accident because there's a bobcat running around. But the guilt cycle, man, like you delay it, you feel bad, and then because you feel bad, you just delay it some more. and it's just a vicious cycle. Suddenly, it's a week, it's a week later, it's a month later, and in my case, it's a year later. And I'm finally getting my first stream done. Um, there was one time where I had this goal several years ago. I had a goal of selling items. There's a deer. I had a goal of selling items on eBay, and I was researching so many different items, and like vintage video games, even like DVDs, uh, audio, like records, CDs, VHS tapes. There's a lot out there that have value, but it's few and far between, and you really got to find them in good quality. And I spent, I don't know, hours, days, just researching and looking things up and trying to educate myself, because I thought I could memorize these lists and then go out and actually find these items so I could flip them on eBay and try and make some money for myself. And I was watching YouTube videos. I was reading articles online, and I sold myself that all of this research, all of this education, was valuable. And I spent a lot of time out in thrift shops and yard sales, and I've never really found like one of these like super vintage, super expensive, super valuable video games. But throughout the course of my time of like selling on eBay, there was one time that I went out, and when I finally got out, because I had procrastinated for a long time actually going out to thrift shops, and when I finally got up and did it, I found a video game called Rule of Rose, and it's a very sought after, rare game to find. And I sold it for a lot of money, and I only bought it for like $2 at a thrift shop. And so that spark is what prompted me to start selling on eBay quite often. And but it took me a long time to get there. But once I finally went to the store and started looking for something, I found what I was looking for. That whole time I had been doing research, and it was just sitting there. And so I guess the moral of this is that, you probably have your own version of that story, and you probably have something that you're carrying, something that you may be avoiding. For me, it was avoiding going out to the actual thrift shop and, looking for what I had been studying on. And whatever it is that you're avoiding, whatever it is you're carrying, and whatever it is that goal that you're trying to achieve, it deserves a chance. It deserves action. And that's one of the things that people overcomplicate. Starting, it really doesn't require motivation. The motivation is your goal. And as long as you have that in front of you, the motivation is there. It's the fear of starting. And the way to get over that fear is action. It requires action. Starting requires action. Consider this. Set a very achievable goal. Make it easy to win. Rig the game. Rig it for yourself. Make it something like so easy that you can celebrate it as a success, and that action will carry through to the next task you set yourself or that you have on your to-do list. An example could be, record a video, make a phone call, talk to the person that, you're attracted to and just say hi. Get that conversation going. Something that's so difficult. Consider let's call it a 5-minute rule. Just start for 5 minutes. If your goal is fitness and you're trying to get yourself to work out, just 5 minutes. Just set aside a few minutes and get started. You don't have to sit there for an hour or 30 minutes or whatever. Just do 5 minutes. Just take action. And when you're looking at your goal, you want to look at it and break it down into smaller goals so it's achievable. You can't look at the entire mountain. You got to look at it in small rocks, small pebbles. Take it one step at a time. Don't try to overcomplicate it or make it overwhelming for yourself that it seems too far out of reach. And another, you don't want to aim for perfect, because perfection is just not, it's if you're going to aim for perfect all the time, it's not going to happen. None of us are perfect. And trying to make something perfect, it's not achievable, because you'll always be studying, you'll always be preparing. What you want to aim for is doing something, is getting it done. Breaking down that goal into a small set of tasks and getting that first task done. And once you get started, you're now the person who shows up. You're the one, who is now taking action and moving towards that goal. And it doesn't matter if people see you or not. You know what you're doing, you know what you're capable of, and you know what you're moving towards. Momentum is going to beat motivation every time. Motivation will come and go. You can watch a movie, hear a song, read a quote, and that motivation will come, and then seconds or minutes later, that motivation is gone. It's a difficult thing to hold on to for long periods of time. But momentum builds on itself. Once you it's like, it's physics, right? Like once that ball gets rolling, it's difficult to stop. It's not going to stop on its own. Something has to stop it. And so momentum is going to enable you to keep moving towards your goals. Once you get one task done, then you move on to the next and the next and the next. And you set that cadence for yourself. You set that rhythm for yourself. Be the one who starts. Be the one who follows through. Be someone who shows up. Be dependable. Be someone that others can depend upon. And so, before you go tonight, I want you to choose one small thing you can start tonight. Not tomorrow, not next week, today or tonight, wherever you may be. Whenever you're listening to this. Pick one small thing you can do. Do 10 push-ups. Read a book for 5 minutes. Something that you've been putting off. Or if maybe your goal is to reduce your doom scrolling. Whatever it is that you've been it's been weighing on your mind, it's, been heavy on your shoulders. Find a way to, move towards that goal. Just spend 5 or 10 minutes, or, a few exercises, or, a few reps of whatever that task is. And keep in mind, it does not have to be perfect. Okay? You just need to be honest with yourself, with what you're trying to achieve. Like, your future self is going to thank you for showing up, putting in the work, and getting this ball rolling. And I'm really happy that that you're here, that we could share this time together. And I'm proud of you for being here. And I hope that this was helpful. Take care of yourself. And remember, starting small, it's still starting. So that's all I have for tonight. I want you to have a great night, and whatever it is you're working on, whatever it is you're working towards, keep moving forward and just get it done. Just get it done. And if you're still hanging around, we're just going to drive through Los Santos for a little while. It was interesting. Somebody once said, don't negotiate the price of your success. Just pay the bill and get it done. I've always enjoyed that quote.